ABC, it's Greeno. Wanted to do album of the week. A little bit behind on these. Trying to get caught up. This week's a little bit different. Showing a little bit more of a common album, I guess you could say. I try and show kind of different stuff, you know, maybe some stuff people haven't heard, or, you know, might turn some people on to some different stuff. But anyways, this one, everybody knows this album. I'm not going to do a needle drop because I don't want, one, I don't want to get hit with YouTube and get flagged or whatever, and I don't need the feds showing up wanting a quarter because I played it on YouTube or something. But this album was like, it's a landmark album, everybody knows it, and I'll go ahead and show it. It's Nevermind, Nirvana. Like I say, everybody knows this album, and this is the reissue from last year, and I kind of just picked this up to have it, put it in the collection, and it's been sitting in the new stuff pile for a good 6-7 months probably. I've heard it a million times, just never got around to it. But today I'm in like a 90s mood, and I've listened to 3 or 4 or more 90s records. And I'll show you those later. But this one kind of blew me away. It was almost like hearing it for the first time again with this new mastering or whatever they've done. It's really, really good. So that's kind of why I'm picking it as album of the week. If you like this album, even if you're kind of burnt out on it, if you did like this album, check out this pressing, because I'm amazed by it, to be quite honest. The thing with a lot of those 90s releases is the compression, man. They were just squeezing everything back then. And I remember even an interview, I think it was with Butch Vig, maybe. I can't remember, one of the producers back then, they were talking about the sound of that era, and it was back then, you know, when they were talking to him. And they were like, you know, at some point here, years later, people are going to be talking about us today of how everything's compressed and just the way everything sounds today. And man, that dude was right on the money. And you go back and listen to some of those old 90s albums, you know, a lot of the alternative bands or whatever you want to call them, they're just squeezed to shit, you know, compressed like crazy. This album was kind of compressed, you know, originally. But this mastering, this release is just, it's open, man. It's it sounds bigger. I was just really, really impressed with it. And like I say, I've heard this album a million times, and I can't listen to it anymore. I shouldn't say I can't, but I kind of don't. And that's why this has sat around for so long. Kind of a little history with me with this band was, you know, in the 80s, big metalhead, all that. Started getting into underground stuff in the late 90s, or excuse me, the late 80s, and started finding, you know, Soundgarden, and then ran across a friend had a cassette of a band called Nirvana, and the album was Bleach. It was just a copy, nothing written on it, and we all made copies of that, and nobody could find it anywhere at the time. We didn't know what these guys looked like. This was pre-internet and everything, you know. We didn't know what these guys looked like, where they were from, nothing about them, and we played the shit out of that. I mean, Bleach is still my favorite Nirvana album, but, you know, loved it. Went to see them. I remember when they got signed, and we were all, I'm just kind of blabbering here, so bear with me. I remember when they got signed for a bunch of money when they were still in Sub Pop, got signed to DGC, and we were all just like, what the hell are they thinking, man, giving that little band all this money? They're insane. And then we went and saw them probably a month before Nevermind came out, and it was just like, wow. And then when Nevermind come out, it's like me musically, there's a before Nevermind and an after Nevermind. And it's crazy. I mean, I'll probably never see anything like that in my lifetime again musically, as far as a band just completely changing the landscape. And I know they get pegged as, you know, they killed hair metal, they killed metal, whatever. I don't believe that. All that was on its way out. It had played out. There was too much of it. Everybody was sounding the same. And actually, you know, by 89 or so, that stuff was dead. Or on its way out, definitely. I think Nevermind was just like kind of the final nail. But, and then for that 6 months after this album came out, I loved it. And after that, I couldn't stand it because you could not get away from it. MTV, radio, everybody you knew had a copy of it. It was the soundtrack of the world for like a year and a half or something, it seemed like. And because of that, I never listened to that album anymore. Maybe like once every 5 years or something, I'll pull out the disc, pop it in, and I might get like 3 or 4 songs into it and I'm done. But I wanted to have it on vinyl, and you know, I picked it up and it kind of sat around. I pulled it out today and put it on, and like I said, it was like hearing it for the first time again. And I suggest anybody that's kind of into this album, give this pressing a chance. If you like the album, man, it just kind of blew me away. But that's my album of the week. So hope everybody doesn't mind me just kind of running my mouth. If you do, tough shit. I don't know, leave a comment, let me know if you like this album, or, you know, like I said, it was, I'll never see anything like this again, I don't think. My generation won't. And younger people today, I'm sure everybody knows this album, all the younger people in the VC, but unless you were there, you can't understand it. And, you know, the generation before me tells me about the Beatles, unless you were there. But, I mean, this album, I mean, I think it ranks up there with Sgt. Pepper's and Zeppelin 4 and Dark Side of the Moon and Master of Puppets. I'm not comparing them musically, but just as what it did for the culture, just the change and the shift musically. So it was a big album. Anyways, leave some comments, whatever. I should have a final update coming up soon. A bunch of crap sitting around I'll show. Alright, thanks everybody for watching.